Hi, welcome back to another video. I know it's happened to all of us. You're just walking along in nature, enjoying the beauty, and then you come upon the skeleton of a little dead fairy. And you think, hmm, this seems like it would make a really cool Halloween decoration. But we all know you should never pick up a real fairy skeleton. You might get cursed and turned into a frog or something. You all know that, right? 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 Well, today I'm going to show you the safe way to make a fake fairy skeleton to use as a Halloween decoration. For the skeletons, I'm just using these skeletons that I got from the dollar store. It's a garland on a rope, so you just have to cut the little hooks off the top. I'm going to use some magic sculpt to make some little horns for a couple of the skeletons. Now, horns is completely optional. Not all fairies have horns. I'm just using sculpting tools to put the texture and the shape in, as you've seen me do in some of my other videos. I also made one that had more like ram's horns. These skeletons are not very posable, so we're going to have to modify them for our needs. I want this guy to sit down on this little rock. So we're going to have to take him apart first. And I'm going to use a razor blade. Very carefully, be safe. I can cut each joint, and then using hot glue, I can put the joints back together in the position that I would like. I just continue joint by joint, cutting it, then hot gluing it into place as I want. I want it to bend over a little bit, so I'm going to cut the spine, and I'll cut one part at a little angle here. By doing that, when I put it together, it will be leaning forward. I'll do something similar at the neck. There we go, we've got a nice sitting down figure. We'll sit on this rock. I also found some little tiny skeletons. I'm going to do the same thing with these, cutting them, hot gluing them together for a teeny tiny little pixie skeleton. Here you can see several different poses that I've made with them. But we're not done yet. These are just little skeletons. To make them fairies, we need to add wings. I'll show you a few different ways. This is a butterfly, a silk butterfly that I found in the floral section of the dollar store. It has little wires in it that let you kind of bend it into shape a little bit. And with some hot glue, we can just glue it right on the back of one of our skeletons. For my tiny skeletons, I found some little butterflies on Amazon that are used for jewelry making. They have this little diamond on the front, and you can just pull that off. And again, with hot glue, we'll just glue these little silk wings onto the back of our skeleton. Another idea for wings, I've got these little holographic butterflies that you can stick on your wall for decorations. I'm just going to trim some of the butterfly parts off. And again, we'll just hot glue this onto the back. Now, if they stay open too much, you can either bend them a little bit or just put a dot of hot glue in between them and close it and it will keep them. But what if you can't find any kind of butterfly wing? Well, fairies are creatures of nature, so let's just grab some flowers and make wings from that. These are flowers I just got from the dollar store. I found some petals that I feel like are wing-like. We're just cutting off pieces that we want to keep. And with hot glue, we're going to assemble them together into the wings. This is for a fairy that's laying down. So I intentionally offset some of the wing so that it's a little more visually interesting. A little glue to keep it closed. Now all our fairies have wings. And they seem to have the approval of the quality assurance manager. One last part is to paint them. Now in this case, I'm only painting the horns that I had built, but you could touch up the paint of the skeletons if you wanted to. If you want to know how to paint the horns, it's very similar to how I paint skulls. You can check out my video on how to paint realistic skulls, and I go through the same process. And with that, the fairies are basically ready to be displayed, but I wanted to make some little display cases for them also. I found this little dome at the dollar store. I think it'll be great for our tiny little pixie. And I also got this vase at the dollar store. This one I have lying around. It's a big square jar with a very wide mouth. And to make it a little more interesting, we're going to use some moss. This spooky moss I got from the spirit store. But I've got these other collection of different colored mosses for more interest. You can get all of this at the floral department of a craft store or even the dollar store. So let's start with the vase. I'm just going to chuck in some of the spirit store spooky moss. I can't reach my hand down in there, so I'm going to use some wooden sticks to kind of push things around. And we'll slide in our first fairy. Now this fairy can just barely fit in there, but I think it still looks nice. There we have a fairy sitting on top of the moss. For the little dome, I'm going to take this moss carpet paper that I have. I'll trace the dome itself, and then I'm going to cut the circle out, but I'm going to cut on the inside of my line so that the circle is a little bit smaller than the dome. And that will allow it to fit right on the base. We'll put our baby little tiny pixie skeleton in there. And add just a little bit of other pieces of moss just for more interesting color. Things are always more interesting when there's more than one color in there. And there we have it. Now you can always glue down the skeletons into these, but I like to just lay them there in case I ever want to display them in a different way in the future. Now for the big jar, we'll We'll start off with this wiry moss and pack down a little nest. And again, we'll add some more colors. Scoot those around, and there we have our thinking fairy. One last little piece, I'm going to print out some labels that I made in a photo editing software. There's a couple of ways to put this on. This one way, you can just use clear packing tape and tape it directly on. Or you can use just regular white glue. This looks like fancy glue, but it's basically the same as Elmer's glue. Spread that on thin and just put it right on the glass gently. It will kind of slide around while it's still wet. The label on this one says Doina Shi, which is Irish for the good neighbors. It's a word they use for the fairies. Let's take a look and see how everything turned out. The great thing about putting them in display cases or display jars is you can actually put them with different kinds of decor. Here I have it in a beach scene, even though these are not beach fairies. But you can also just lay them out on their own. They're not super durable, so I wouldn't leave them outside. In fact, the hot glue may even melt in the sun. But they make a great decoration, and they look great near flowers and other plants. They're a great addition to some cool, cute, creepy decorations that you can use all year round or especially around Halloween. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, tell your friends. Till next time, don't be bored, be creative.